Superpowered siblings Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver arguably have one of the most confusing histories in all of Marvel Comics. Way back in Avengers number 185, published in 1979, Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver discovered that they are the biological children of Magneto and Magda, and that the Maximoffs were actually their adoptive parents. However, in the 2015 crossover event Axis, Scarlet Witch casts a spell to punish her bloodline, except Quicksilver is the only one to cry out in pain, meaning Magneto is not actually related to them at all. This was expanded on within the pages of Uncanny Avengers, which reveals that the twins are actually the children of the Maximoffs, and that the High Evolutionary who abducted them from their parents to experiment on them returned them back when he was disappointed in the results and claimed that they were mutants to explain their powers. Magneto is still a father, as he has a daughter in the form of the alpha level mutant Polaris. While this is generally pretty known, for fans of only the X-Men or Avengers movies, this may have been lost on you. Now this next one is a bit of a cheat, as a child and a clone are a little bit different, but when Superman was laid low by Doomsday during the Death of Superman story arc, 4 new characters showed up that claimed to have a connection with him. One of these was Superboy, also known as Connor Kent. Project Cadmus decided to try and make a clone of Superman to try and fill the void, and they were successful with this new version of Superboy that had powers based around telekinesis, which mimicked the powers of Superman. It was later revealed to Connor that while half of him was cloned from Superman, the other half of him was cloned from Lex Luthor. When Superboy passed away during Infinite Crisis, Lex Luthor actually genuinely mourned over the loss of his son, even if he was born under very unusual circumstances. Now, being born in ancient Egypt, it does make sense that in his lifetime, the mutant Apocalypse would have had at least a few kids. The first one we found out about was William Rolfson. William was born to Apocalypse and Autumn Rolfson, a mutant who had at one time held the role of Pestilence as one of Apocalypse's horsemen. Fearing Apocalypse would view their son as a bit of a threat and take him out, Autumn and her son went into hiding and made their way to Akaba Metropolis. When William's X gene activated, he found he could generate radioactive plasma, which at his peak could reach a temperature equal to the core of the sun. But Apocalypse also had 4 others. We learned that way back in the day, Apocalypse and his wife Genesis had 4 Omega level mutant children on the mutant land of Okara. These 4 mutants became the first Horsemen, and eventually after the splitting of Okara into Arako and Krakoa, they became trapped in the hellish dimension of Amenth. As told in 1984's Captain America number 298, The Life and Times of the Red Skull, Johann Schmidt sought out a male heir, and so he forced a nameless woman to take on the duty. Now sadly, this woman passed away at the birth of the Red Skull's child, who turned out to be a girl. This nearly drove Schmidt to end the child as well for not being a boy, but he was stopped by one of his followers named Susan Scarbo. Susan convinced him not to and volunteered to raise the girl herself as her nanny. The Skull actually agreed and left the girl, who was now named Cynthia, to be raised and indoctrinated with the Skull's views by Susan. When Cynthia Schmidt was still a child, the Skull returned and he put her in a special machine that accelerated her aging until she was an adult, and of course, it also gave her superhuman powers. She would go on to become Mother Superior before being de-aged and depowered. Marvel just kinda dropped the ball on her, and she hasn't been seen since 2016. While even MCU fans are aware that the Mad Titan Thanos does have a fatherly side to him, in the movies and the comics, Gamora is his adopted daughter, which I don't count, and Nebula is much the same, although in the comics, she's allegedly Thanos' granddaughter, with her father being the Lufamoid warlord Zor the Conqueror, but what is confirmed is that Thanos does actually have a legit son in the form of Thane. Thane is the son of Thanos and an inhuman woman, so Thane is both an Eternal with that deviant gene, plus being an Inhuman. When Thanos went looking for his son, it led to a huge fight with Black Bolt, who then set off the Terrigen Bomb. This activated Thane's inhuman abilities. Thane gained the ability of Death Touch with his left hand, but then with his right hand, Thane can project an amber construct, and anyone he traps within it is left in a state of living death. So it's either the end, or basically the end. Daisy Johnson, aka Quake, first appeared in the pages of Brian Michael Bendis and Gabrielle Delotto's Secret War as the original Nick Fury's superpowered agent. She came onto the scene in a big way by using her powers to blow up Wolverine's heart with a mini earthquake. Now Daisy, who was thought at first to be a mutant, is actually an Inhuman. Daisy's mom was Jennifer Kimberly Johnson, Johnson, a lady of the night who was frequently hired by one Calvin Zabo, aka the supervillain Mr. Hyde. Now Jennifer actually had no idea that she possessed inhuman lineage, and she gave up Daisy at a very early age to foster parents. When her inhuman powers manifested, mixing with the genetic tampering that her father used on himself, she was taken in by Nick Fury and S.H.I.E.L.D. and offered training and a position as a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent. Now funnily enough, Quake didn't really interact with her father until 2015's S.H.I.E.L.D. Volume 3, when he was captured by S.H.I.E.L.D. and made to create a cure for his daughter, whose body began rejecting her powers. Now you would think that being a colossal planet-eating monster would kind of destroy any hopes of Galactus finding love, and that's actually pretty accurate. He ain't got no boo. But luckily for Galactus, that doesn't matter. The life energy of the planets that Galactus eats apparently goes towards feeding a cosmic tapeworm inside of himself. This energy went on to form Gally, aka Galacta, the estranged teenage daughter of Galactus. Gally hid on Earth as a teenager and has been trying to find a way to end her cosmic hunger. Gally helps people all across the world by consuming extraterrestrial viruses instead of planets. When it was revealed that Galacta also had a cosmic tapeworm inside of herself, which was making her want to feed on planets, she almost wiped herself out with the ultimate nullifier before Galactus showed up and stopped her. It's kinda wild that Galactus is actually a good dad of everyone else on this list. Jason Wingard, also known as Mastermind, is a mutant with the ability to manipulate perception, creating powerful illusions that can deceive the senses and alter reality in the minds of others. He was initially a member of the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants and would be a recurring minor foe of the X-Men until he joined the Hellfire Club and took a central plot point in the Dark Phoenix saga. Mastermind used his powers to seduce Jean Grey and to corrupt the Phoenix Force into a being of evil who threatened to wipe out all of the life in the universe. Now after he passed away thanks to the legacy virus, it was revealed that he had actually left not one, but 3 children behind. 2 of his daughters, Martinique and Reagan, would share his powers, take on his codename, and become villains of the X-Men following in their father's footsteps. His 3rd daughter, Megan Gwyn, was raised by her grandparents and became the hero Pixie, one of the prominent members of the X-Men. As most people are aware, Sabertooth is a long-running villain of both the X-Men and more specifically Wolverine. He's one of the original Brotherhood of Evil Mutants and has been a super popular Marvel villain for a long time. Despite Wolverine cutting off his head with a magic sword that specifically prevents the mutant healing factor from working, he's still returned from the grave. That's how popular he is. In the comics, Sabertooth fathered a child with another uber popular X-Men villain and occasional anti-hero, Mystique. Their child would go on to eventually become a prominent X-Men villain himself, and he was named Graydon Creed. Now funnily enough, despite having 2 mutants for parents, Graydon Creed was actually born just a regular human without a mutant power of any kind. Because of that, and the fact that Mystique kind of sucks as a mom and that Sabertooth was completely absent, he was abandoned by Mystique around the age of 12 after he learned of Mystique's mutant status. Now he managed to claw his way out of poverty on his own and established the Friends of Humanity, which is an incredibly vocal and dangerous anti-mutant organization in Marvel Comics. Now this last one is kind of fun because it was a whole mystery and a half to figure out who Duella Dent's parents were. When Duella Dent first appeared on the streets of Gotham in DC Comics, she went by the name Joker's daughter, and she certainly dressed the part. She went on to claim to be the daughter of Catwoman, Scarecrow, the Riddler, and the Penguin, one after the other. Now Dick Grayson eventually cracked the code and revealed her to be the daughter of Harvey Dent, aka Two-Face. Or at least, that's the way it seemed. Duella actually became a good guy for a little bit, joining the Teen Titans under the moniker of Harlequin. Then, when Grayson found evidence that proved that Duella actually could not be Two-Face's daughter, she bailed and went right back to being the Joker's daughter. It came as a bit of a shock when Duella was vaporized by the Monitor for being from another Earth, and her true origin was finally revealed. Duella was the Joker's daughter, but the Joker from Earth 3. A superhero. Her mother was Evelyn Dent, the hero known as Three-Face, and she was also raised in part by a heroic version of the Riddler. But with that, my name is Adam Andrews. As always, I will catch you guys on the flippy flop, so stay safe, keep positive, and peace out, you nerds.